And what's happening, guys? Welcome along to another episode of 420 News. It is Monday, guys, and it's 4:25 right now, so just missed 4:24, which would have been, what else is 4:24 for? Shout out to everybody out there in the audience, guys. Just going to get me phone on silent. Sorry, guys, this Monday got the better of me. Was throwing a few curveballs there throughout the day, but nonetheless, we survived it and we got here. It's 4:20, so let's pack up some civil disobedience. Well, first I'm gonna have to grind me up some civil disobedience. Oh, lovely. Looks like the jar could be doing with a top up very soon, down to the last maybe, I don't know, is that about like 3 or 4 grams? It's like, oh no, I hate that time. Not worse than the weed is always getting nicer as well when you get down to those final few nugs into the end of the jar. If I could, we'll have it stocked up again in no time. Oh yes. Shout out to everybody in the audience anyway, guys. I see lots of your comments coming in there. Mark Andrew Morgan, what's happening? We've Linda Dunn out there as well. What's going on, Linda? Perfect timing, just sparked up. Happy days. Nice one, Linda. Hopefully I didn't keep you waiting too long there. As I say, just the old typical Monday blues. What's your fudge? Feckin' forgot it was Monday. Thanks, Martin. Not a bother at all, monsieur. Toto, what's happening? I'm doing very well. And Sean M, what's going on? Hello, Martin, and everyone. Have to hit the road. We'll catch up in a while. Not a bother. Hope your Monday's going a bit better than mine. Skatanis, what's happening? Hi all, I thought this time would never come. Such a slow day. Green Tea is out there as well. What's happening, Green Tea? Others out there, Peter Kelly, what's happening, Peter? Great interview with Green Tea. Nice one, Peter, and appreciate the feedback there. Mark Andrew Morgan as well. Here we go, Martin's trumpet. Yeah, somebody was saying that to me the other day. I think it was Green Tea or somebody anyway. When they hear the sound of a bong, it's no longer, the Hits from the Bong song from Cypress Hill. It's a 420. It's a 420 news. Somebody watching 420 news. So slowly and but surely the show has become associated with the sound of bong rips. I love it. Yes, make me so happy hearing that. I'm on shore shouting out to the Hotbox people. He says, Facebook giant is easy to get messages through. Stay cool, all. And it seems like we've an audience building up across all the platforms anyway, so it seems everything's going well on each of them, so happy days. Shout out to my one and lonely Twitch follower over there. There's always only like 1 or 2 over on Twitch, for whatever reason that is. I guess it's not gaming, so it's a bit of a niche one for over there. What's happening, Scals? I see Scals is out there as well. Says, yeah, it was one slow day. Thank God it's 4:20. Nice. I'm not sure I had a few curveballs ourselves, he says, but well worth a good smoke. Yes, I'll definitely be talking into that one. See Lorraine Cambridge commenting there as well. What's happening? Linda Dunn as well. Talking of grinders, anyone recommend a grinder that will give me a fine grind? Hands cramping a lot now. Arthritis and ME/CFS. Well, you might not like my grinder. My one's quite large. Definitely like having a good shark tooth grinder, and maybe like having a couple of them, so that like when one gets like all kind of sticky and gritty and stuff like that, you can just replace it with another one. Those things are rather cheap as well, and the first maybe month or so of using them, they're relatively easy to use. Those kind of plastic shark tooth ones. It's only after about maybe a month or so of using it that it kind of starts to get like, clogged up with little bits of weed in the corner and resin and stuff like that. And at that point, then maybe it's worthwhile, just getting a new one. I think you get them as cheap as, I don't know, R420 Supplies will tell us there how cheap you can pick up these shark tooth grinders for that are, quite easily to replace. I would imagine less than a fiver anyway, and you'll get yourself a decent shark tooth grinder. and for a fiver and you get a month out of it. It's also, yeah, I see other recommendations coming in as an electric grinder. Those aren't too bad either. I've actually once used my coffee grinder, just for the crack, chucked a couple of grams in there and hit the whiz. And yeah, it done quite nice, but I don't know how happy I would be to smoke it afterwards. It got it too fine for me, I found. And also the speed at which the electric one whizzed it at, it generated a little bit of heat in there, which kind of interfered with the resin as well. So I wasn't too happy with it, but in terms of like when you're baking, if you're doing a bit of cooking and you have a bit of material to process, then it's quite handy, all right. But yeah, electric grinders, that's a good one actually. Good shout there from who's that? None shall pass one. Yeah, nice one for that recommendation. That's a very good one for somebody who's got sore arms. Just press a button and the yolk goes away. It whizzes away, you know. And Cassidus Drugas, what's happening out there? Hopefully all is well out on mainland Portugal. I see you're back in Lisbon for a big event this weekend. Must catch up with you soon and hear all about it and how it went, or how it's going if it's still on. But Cassidus Drugas is giving a shout out to the Twitch bong hitters. Yes, and I think, you know, with that being said, this is overdue. Shout out to the Twitch bong hitters and to everybody else out there hitting on the fine herb this pleasant Monday. R420 Supplies, they're also just getting an update in the comments. He says grinders start at €4 and he has electric ones too. So who was that asking? Linda. Linda, there you go. Check out R420 Supplies. Get in touch with him. Drop a message there over on Instagram. I'm not too sure where else R420 is, but drop a message there or go over onto his website, better again, r420.ie, and check out all that he has up and offer there. And he says crank ones from €15. So the crank ones are like have a little handle on the top of it and you wind it. Those are handy too for people who might have like say stiff wrists or anything like that. And you know, holding a grinder like this is too much. Doing this is much easier on the wrist. You see the different in motion there, like. So yes, R420 Supplies, they'll look after you there, Linda, for all your grinder needs and anything else you need too. So right, let's blaze this one up and we get stuck on into the news. Not on Instagram, but tell me the website again. LOL. Right, we'll go slow. Or 420.ie. Or 420.ie. So yeah, r420.ie. That's hit that one in there. Hit that in your search bar. No, I think it's just r420.ie. Nice and simple. Supplies would be too long, wouldn't it? But I'm sure if you put that into Google, you'll find them too. So right, here we go. Ooh. And here's a little tip, guys, if you haven't ever come across this one. A few bong lovers out there. On the bowl itself, give a little rub of Vaseline around the part here that you insert. Do you know this part here, like, geez, there as you insert, and yeah, you'll have it nice and lubricated. I was having issues when it was getting stuck. It was getting a bit resinous in there, and it was getting stuck, and it was pulling out the down stem then with it. Because I like to pop up my bowl rather than using the carb hole at the side. Jeez, my bong is manky. Apologies. But yeah, a little rub of Vaseline down there on the end of your bowl, and you get lovely little traction. Lovely smooth interaction between the bowl and the glass. Green tea. I'm about to rip my bong myself here. Nice. Hopefully that was a nice bong rip. Won't be long more now, and you probably already have some of the Mendocino skunk. Actually, I can remember you saying you took down a branch like a week or so early. So you're probably already blazing up that Mendocino. I hope it's going well there for your green tea. Yeah, and green tea also mentioning the hand cranked grinders there as well. Much appreciated, green tea. Sure, Linda appreciates all the great help there that's coming our way. Shannon Neville as well says, I'm staying in England till Wednesday and I'm finding it hard to cope with withdrawals. Have you any tips for me? Um, Go for a jog. Or go down to the sauna or something like that. Go for a swim. Exercise is a great way. In order to kind of just take the edge off, you'll get the release of the endorphins in the body. A natural high there in itself. Feck it, even if you could find one, I'm sure Chong would recommend go do a salsa class. That's Tommy Chong. He loves his old salsa. He talks about using salsa during his abstinence. He had to do a 3 year period of abstinence, or more than 3 years, after he got done for the bongs that time. So yeah, exercise, that's probably one great way to deal with not having any weed. But obviously that's an issue if you're a chronic pain patient then. So hopefully that's not you, Shannon. Hopefully that recommendation helps. It says, staying with family, it's not possible to be bringing it in the house. Darn it, that's not good. But yeah, a bit of exercise goes a long way. A brisk walk. Yeah, staying active. Alan O'Shea, what's happening? Hello, Martin and Herbalist. Doing my oils. Talk to talk, sent money through PayPal, have receipts still. She is trying to say she didn't get it. So basically, what she told me, where she does it from, the heart, a while back, I sent money before. She stated it was made of 200 ml bottles, 30 ml. I sent 135. Jesus, Alan, man, that's a nasty one. So basically, the kind of the long and short of it here, Alan's after handing over some money to get oil, and is pretty much after getting taken advantage of by the individual. He says here, taking advantage of a person's illness, paid through PayPal, and trying to deny it. Well, she won't be getting a cent out of me. The one of which is all she was owed. Well, thinking of it, 1 to 1, 150 bottles, still charged me 200, which was my weekly payment. So misunderstanding. Shit, Alan, man. We'll have to talk more off of this, because if you want to come on here and share your story, we'll definitely have a chat on another show. But I appreciate that heads up there on that. I'd like to find out more as to who this herbalist is, and maybe possible even just name and shame him, like just put other people wide. Green tea, I really want to clean your bong, Martin, and yes I do, I'm literally smoking it now. I'll send you a wee video. Appreciate that, green tea. And yeah, I should clean this as well. I have the alcohol downstairs as well, there's no excuses. Just been other things going on, so keep me busy. Welcome to the chat there as well. The hype in Mastawa is what's going on, guys. I see you dropping in there. So right, guys, let's get started. Oh, Casa de Strugas also getting a comment in there earlier saying scissors over grinder for fresh flour, in my opinion. There you go. There's a lot to be said for that. I think if you're doing bong rips, or possibly even, I don't know, would you say vaporizers? I definitely think vaporizers and bong rips benefit from a more coarse grind, like larger particles of cannabis, because there's just more, there's just less like breaking it up, like, so you've less interference there with the flower, so it's got more intact kind of resin, so it's more ability to get it release its flavors. Whereas like if you're rolling a doobie, then maybe something a bit more grinded, kind of like what I have here now because of my grinder, then that's a bit better. So yeah, I definitely think it depends on how you're intending on using it. I definitely find that if you're using the scissors and you roll it up afterwards, that you tend to get a bit of uneven burning, depending on how fucking vigorous you use that scissors, you know. I've definitely been lazy with it when I've used it before. But I definitely agree with you there anyway, Casa de Strugas. Scissors is definitely a bit more beneficial for grinding over a grinder, in that it kind of preserves more of the flavour there of the bud. Right, let's drive on, guys. Let's get started on today's 420 news, and let's get the bad stuff out of the way first, because we're going to start off with a headline. It's one in which it was featured up on the blog recently. It's the headline there of the quiet-spoken lady from West Cork. This is the 58-year-old Claire Freeman, who had her home raided. And upon having her home raided, she decided to try to get rid of the cannabis which she was using at the time to treat her pain. Well, up in court in front of one of the judges, she received a 60-day prison sentence. This wasn't her first time up in front of the judge for drugs. She had 6 previous appearances in the past for drugs, and one of those was in relation to a charge for sale and supply. Now, it doesn't indicate whether those charges were all to do with cannabis, but I would imagine it was all cannabis related, but it hasn't been stated there, so I'm not too sure on that one. But it's a real shocking state of play here in Ireland again, when we've another patient being having their home invaded by the authorities and having their medicine taken away. You know, the likes of Stephen Donnelly out there, he's very well aware of the use of cannabis for medicinal reasons, given his comments back in 2017. You know, he talked about back in 2017, why should the state care if a person has grown a bit of cannabis or using it for, you know, whether it be medicinal reasons or recreational reasons, you know, and I hate that bloody word, recreational. But why should the state care? It should be none of their business in reality. But Stephen Donnelly and Frank Fian, the guys in charge of our drug policy, they believe that this is a health-led approach to drugs in Irish society. Having the authorities, having state-sponsored terrorism going on, because that's effectively what's going on here. The authorities are entering citizens' homes and they're violating their human rights. In that article I put up there in the blog, I mentioned Article 3 of the UN Human Rights, the Declaration of Human Rights there, which is the, and I'm just going to pull it up here and state it out for you. Article 3 of the UN Declaration of Human Rights, and Casa Struggas is probably screaming her out there. He probably knows this off the top of his head. But everyone has the right to life, liberty and security of person. And that's been denied here to this lady. This lady has been denied that right to life, you know, because her life, while suffering with pain, I'd imagine others out there who suffer with chronic pain would agree with me in this, that it's not much of a life to be waking up in the morning, first thing, suffering with chronic pain, suffering throughout the day, and then suffering throughout the night as well, interfering with your ability to sleep. You're not living much of life. And then along comes this wondrous herb, and it alleviates that pain and suffering, allowing you to enjoy your morning, enjoy your day, enjoy your evening, and enjoy your sleep. And the state is interfering with that right of individuals to choose how they take care of themselves. So a horrible use of our authorities here in Ireland, paid for by us, the taxpayers. Like, are we getting value for money out of this? So a horrible case here in Ireland. A woman, 58 years of age, got 60 days in prison for having 2.5 grams of cannabis in her home. This woman has since, I believe, she's appealed this case, so she's not in prison. Now, if anybody knows Claire Freeman, I've tried to reach out to her. I've tried to find a contact for her online. But if anybody knows of her, I would love to hear from her and to just ask a couple of questions and learn further as to her use of cannabis there. Because her first case in front of the courts goes back as far as 2012. And her last case, James McNulty was the judge in charge there. Nice one, Serenable for that. But her most recent charge is from February 2017. So if this woman has been medicating with cannabis and criminalised a number of times for, you know, that medicinal use of cannabis, then I would love to hear from her and to help highlight this case more. So guys, if you can go over there to the blog and just share it around on the different social media and include the hashtag Free Miss Freeman. I believe that's a fitting hashtag, Free Miss Freeman. So that was one I attached to the blog there anyway. But if you come up with any better ones, do let me know and I'll use that too. But it's really messed up to consider the woman out there suffering in pain, has her medicine taken away. But because of the state not out there setting up a proper, effective way in which she can get access to it, this woman is also supporting criminals out there, most likely. No, I'm not not saying that she is getting it from an organised crime gang. It could have been locally grown from a grower just growing it for themselves or a few friends. But it's quite a potential there that she could be also supporting organised crime gangs. And that's a disturbing one as well. But we go from this case where the lady who got caught with 2.5 grams of cannabis, she got 60 days in prison. Well, we jump to this next case, and this is coming out of Montrat in Laois, I believe this is, where a man said to be very involved with the local GA club was up in court on a cannabis dealing charge, and he was spared 6 months in prison. And that was suspended for 12 months in total. This guy got caught after the guards raided his property. Upon raiding his house, they found a small quantity of cannabis inside in a microwave. They found a weighing scales, they found a tick list, and at the rear of the property, they found another bag with even more cannabis inside in it. In total, the guards, they got 88 grams of cannabis, given that the value of the cannabis seized was €1,760, €20 a gram there, that's 88 grams of cannabis. So this guy got caught with 88 grams of cannabis. He gets a 6-month sentence, suspended for 12 months. The lady in the previous case, she got caught with 2.5 grams of cannabis, and she gets 60 days in prison. Just straight up, there you go, 60 days in prison. Now, she suffers with chronic pain. She has a reason for using cannabis. She has a valid reason for using cannabis. This other guy, he just put his hands up. He said, "Oh yeah, you caught me." He was smoking a bit of cannabis when the when the cops raided his property. He put his hands up. He admitted to it. Yeah, I had this cannabis. It was there. And he gets spared it. He was involved in the sale and supply of cannabis. She was involved in the self-medication with cannabis. It's just a backward society, I'd imagine they're the local GA man. He probably got on to Frank Fian, and Frank probably put in a good word for him and all. But meanwhile, he ignores the likes of Alicia Maher, who's also being ignored too by Stephen Donnelly. Alicia has reached out again recently to Stephen and Frank, to try to get some bloody pathway forward for herself, because she's still stuck in Alicante, and they're still ignoring her emails. They're not even responding. But meanwhile, you go over to the old Frankie boy's Twitter page, and I know many of you are over there yourselves regularly. I see lots of your comments over there. But you go over and just going to pop up in his page, look at the stuff that he's at, in fairness, he's an absolute twit. and I hate name calling, in fairness, but he is, I can't think of anything else. It's kind of a nice thing to call him, maybe, a twit. But here's Frankie Fian's Facebook page. This guy is the Minister for Drugs. You'd never think it when you'd go over to his Facebook page. He's up there, he's talking about men's fucking menopause. What's he got to do with menopause? In fairness, what's he actually got to do with it? I don't understand it. Okay, he's the Minister for Public Health Wellbeing, as well as the National Drug Strategy. But in fairness, come on, what are you doing there? Why aren't you having a conversation with the many people reaching out to you on a daily basis in order to do something about our terrible drug strategy here in Ireland that's putting so many young people in harm's way? It's a really messed up one. And he's also up there opening bloody roads again. Look at him, what a pleb, up there opening roads. Minister Frankie Fian for photo opportunities. And Micheál, he can't even crack a smile. Evil looking bunch of them, a lot of them. But and that's what he's going on at, photos, out handshaking, kissing babies. Seriously, and he's at the GA match then as well. He's entitled to enjoy his weekend, but at the same time, come here, Frank. What about Alicia, man? Your drug policy is not only crippling our farmers and their hemp industry, but it's causing patients to be brought before the courts for their self-medication And it's causing other people to have to leave the island of Ireland in order to get access to cannabis in countries where they're a bit more liberal about the use of cannabis, where they don't treat patients like criminals for using a plant that alleviates their symptoms, you know? But yeah, a messed up one really. But we drive on and we go to another case above in Dublin where €20,000 worth of cannabis was found in two searches above in Dublin. Two people have been arrested and have been charged and to later appear before the courts. So I don't have much more info on this, but what a waste of time. Two searches and it amounted to, in total, just about 1 kilo of cannabis. Two people, two young people, I'd imagine, having their lives ruined here. And the Gardaí, what can they do about it? Sure, they get up and I'll tweet about it. So I'll show you their tweet there now. So there you go. There's the tweet from on Garda info over on Twitter, and they love to tweet about their drug seizures, but they still to date have not put up anything about their buddy John Murphy, Garda detective, whatever he is, John Murphy, who got suspended after being caught with, who was retired and got caught with €600,000 worth of cannabis. They've not put up anything either about the other guards who've been suspended from duty for their involvement with leaking information to some of the organised crime gangs of Limerick and in other places across Ireland too. I think in total there's been like 25 guards already dismissed so far this year. Quite a few. It's quite concerning. But meanwhile, they're posting about fucking cannabis up here, like a kilo of cannabis. Like, come on, like, the only real crime here is that this isn't being sold by local retailers and it's not being grown by local cannabis crafts people who would like to grow top quality cannabis for the local community. You know, that's the real crime here. And again, you know, you look at the comments coming in here, like, nothing but hate for the cops in these cases, like. So you might recognise some of your own comments. I love the first one. Which of you fine officers will be taking this out of evidence for resale? It's great crack, really, isn't it? Yeah, what a complete waste of time. A kilo of cannabis is worth less than $1,800. That's probably coming in there from an American counterpart, where in America, yeah, you can get about a pound of weed for less than $1,000. So yeah, you'll be able to get a kilo of weed then for less than $2,000. Crazy. Again, I always say it, like, it's prohibition here that drives the price up. Yeah, and which parallel universe is that grass worth 20,000? Are you doing the bingo numbers like you did with the fake tests? And then you get a troll coming in here then saying, well done to the guards, well done. He's just trolling, straight up trolling. Legalise weed, stop the war on medicine. Yeah, another €1 billion worth of killer drugs off the streets. Definitely can get the hint of sarcasm there in that one. But yeah, waste of time. We drive on. In other news across the island of Ireland, the guards, as part of Operation Tara, have seized 2 air guns and €35,000 worth of cocaine in West Clare. And 2 people have been, and 1 man, has been arrested, and he's been taken to Kilrush Garda Station, and investigations are ongoing. But again, just going to go over to the Garda Twitter page and just show you this. Like, these are rather disturbing again. Like, a guy involved in the sale and supply of cocaine, and he's in possession of these 2 firearms. Okay, they're air guns, but still, they would pack a punch, I would imagine. And even if you had one pointed in your face, you would be really intimidated by this. So that's the disturbing thing about this. Again, you know, the prohibition of drugs, putting drugs in under the control of individuals who would have no problem at all with using violence to enforce their trade. Again, if we were to do the sensible thing and undo this prohibition of drugs and allow drug users to get safe, regulated access to drugs, along with proper education too before they use these drugs, then we could do a lot to improve our society and the effectiveness of the efforts of our Gardaí. Because if the Gardaí weren't wasting their time out there searching for these drugs, you know, they could be doing other things like deterring burglaries, deterring rapists. That seems like a lot more efficient use of a Gardaí's time, don't you think? Well, let's drive on. And before we do, just looking at some of the comments. Keith Griffin, nice, and our justice system is so effed up. Can't disagree with you there, buddy. Serious need of a reform. Susie Q, it's who you know here. That's why emblem is harp string pulling. Yeah, nice one, Susie Q. Good. Yeah, nice comment. Fidgeburn says it all depends on who you know and who you are buddies with. Rules are made up by the guards on a case by case basis. There is no actual law anymore. Just what a cop or his buddy, the judge, decides. Um, Fidgeburn also saying the constitution is gone, lads. I refuse to believe that, Fidge. I'm going to stand up for it anyway, and I'm going to fight for my rights under the constitution. So I encourage you to do the same. The Misuse of Drugs Act is violating those. Mark Andrew Morgan should all send him leaves in the post and show him the numbers, and they'd have to test a lot. Nice one, Mark. Hype says, tell Frank cannabis will help with his menopause. Nice one, Hype. I don't think cannabis is strong enough to help Frank. I think Frank is a lost cause. Susie Q, backward Euro country is all this is. Want to bring in all this modern stuff, but won't let sacred plant help with sickness, etc. Yeah, I'd agree with you there as well. We're really backwards. I think Kenneth Flynn said it there recently. Basically, is like this country's going to have to be dragged kicking and screaming into the 21st century. Sean Doherty, the guards need disbanded, to be disbanded, but sure, that's a different story altogether. Same up north with the PSNI. I definitely think just a reform of the justice system. I wouldn't say disband the guards altogether, but definitely reform them. Like, just take back some of the powers that were bestowed upon them incorrectly. The Misuse of Drugs Act is certainly a shining example of that. Get the guards back on the beat in the street, keeping us safe from thieves and burglars, and be respected in our community again. That's what I want to see for our guards. Be the respected members of our community. So Renable, the guards love to waste time. They love easy pickings. That's sadly because of the way in which our justice system is shaped around the guards. It's a problem that needs to be addressed by reforming the system. I think somebody said it there the other day, maybe. It was kind of like the numbers system in The Wire, but how the cops were like pushed to get the numbers in, go out there and bust people, get the numbers in. If you're not getting the numbers in, you mustn't be working, you must be slacking. So I wonder, is the same pressure being put on cops here in Ireland to get the numbers in? Or are they doing it to themselves in order to get the numbers in to, climb up through the ranks, to be the guy in the station who's getting all the drug busts? And next, he's the next fucking superintendent or whatever, I definitely think that's the problem in Ireland. It's these fucking robot hop copes out there wanting to make a career for themselves, to climb that ladder, and to do so by stepping on vulnerable individuals such as myself, or the Claire Freeman, or the Evelyn Corrigans of Ireland, It's shameful, really. But right, that's it for today in Ireland. Yay! Pretty much all of the negative news, bar I believe one more negative headline over again in a different country, but we won't give any spoilers just yet on that. But first of all, we'll head to Malta. We're in Malta. The government over there have a cannabis bill before them, and it was up for feedback from the public. And the majority of the feedback coming back on the bill has been overwhelmingly positive. The primary concern raised throughout the whole process was the sourcing of cannabis. If cannabis was to be decriminalised on the island, how would people source it? If people can consume it, how can they source it? Which is a valid concern. And they believe they're addressing that concern through the provision in the bill of setting up cannabis associations where people can sign up to an association, and that association will grow cannabis for that person. Now, I have the details of the bill here, some of the main points of the bill, and to be honest, if I was a member of the public over there, I certainly would have been putting in some definitely some criticism of it anyway. So the first thing, it says persons aged 18 and over can have up to 7 grams of cannabis in their possession and won't be charged in court or face proceedings before a justice commissioner if caught. Police will no longer have the right to detain anyone caught with the plant. So that the final part there was a good statement, but the first part, like 7 grams of cannabis, you won't be charged. So that's ridiculous. So if you've like 8 grams of cannabis, like, well, what's going on? Is the cops going to be going around with weighing scales in their pocket and they're going to be weighing up how much cannabis you have? Like, does this mean that the cops are still going to be stopping and searching people if they smell like cannabis? I would have more questions there around that and concerns. You know, why can't an individual have more than 7 grams of cannabis? Then the next point. If a person under the age of 18 is caught with up to 7 grams of cannabis, they will face proceedings before a justice commissioner and given a care plan. So again, they're going to criminalise young people for having cannabis in their possession, rather than like doing what we would do here in Ireland. If a person is caught with alcohol, bring them back to their parents and say, hey, come here, we caught you, young fella, with alcohol there out in the streets. Sort that out. Don't have them doing that again. You know, or we be getting tussle involved or something. I don't know what they might be saying to them, but that would be much more appropriate use of their time, rather than bringing them before a justice commissioner. At least not on the first occasion anyway. Like, then the possession of between 7 and 28 grams of cannabis will be punishable with a fine between 50 and €100, as well as proceedings before a justice commissioner. So again, it's a small monetary fine, which again reflects, you know, how this is more of a punishment for poor people within the community, rather than, you know, people who are well off, earning in excess of €1,000 a week. There, you know, a 50, €100 fine is, sure, that's only small money. Whereas if you're a person, you know, maybe on the state welfare over there, which is probably about €100, I don't know what you get in welfare over in Malta, even if they have it. But you know, you can see the difference. Then it's again, up to 4 cannabis plants will be allowed in a private residence, but they must be still kept out of sight. I don't understand why they must be kept out of sight. It's like, oh, you have to be ashamed of your cannabis plants. But then the consumption of cannabis in public will remain illegal, with the person being subject to a fine if caught. But meanwhile, people who consume tobacco can openly consume over there. Then likewise, smoking around minors, whether in public or private, will be illegal and carry a fine of up to €500. And likewise, again, tobacco smokers, do they get fined if they're caught smoking, say, in a car with minors? I'm not aware of any such fine over there anyway, but there could be. Fines related to the unauthorised use will be payable online, and anyone growing cannabis at home will be able to store up to 50 grams of dried cannabis at home. Now, I see a major problem here. You're allowed to grow up to 4 plants at home, but meanwhile, you're only allowed to store up to 50 grams of cannabis. So are they assuming that you get like, what, about 12.5 grams of cannabis per plant? That's messed up. Big problems there. So basically, any person who grows cannabis, as soon as they chop it down, they're in a big problem. Do they have to keep their cannabis wet in their house? Big problems there in that. Then the Responsible Cannabis Use Authority will regulate the sector in such a way that it also carries out educational outreach and stakeholder measures in the sector, which will be set up under the Act. So it'll be interesting to see what was rolled out there. But then there are cannabis associations. They have some provisions here outlined for that. The cannabis associations will distribute cannabis among their members. Up to 7 grams a day can be distributed to each member, with a maximum of 50 grams in 1 month. Again, where are they getting these numbers from? Like, how do they come up with like 7 grams a day and 50 in a month? Like, if you're a member and you suffer with chronic pain and you have to consume like 3 grams of cannabis a day, you know, that could be a problem there, because within 20 days, you know, you've just consumed 60 grams of cannabis. There you go. You're not going to be able to continue receiving the appropriate dose to get you your therapeutic relief. Where are they getting these numbers from? It's completely unjustified. Sorry, just looking for my Ishka. Any cannabis association, then, it cannot be situated within 250 metres of a school. Okay, I won't argue too much with that one. And then it says the organisations must be registered and authorised by the Responsible Cannabis Use Authority, which will be established by the new law. So again, I could see a problem here, maybe like if these guys are going to be restrictive with handing out the licenses or even slow in processing them. Fingers crossed they'll be efficient in their duties. The authorities will have the right to carry out checks on each premises. Associations will need to disclose the number of members they cater for every 3 months, though they will not have to disclose any names or other details of those members. So again, every 3 months, the clubs have to let the government know how many members they have or they're catering for. Legal persons and other legal entities cannot be the owners of cannabis associations. Now, I don't know what that actually means. Legal persons or and other legal entities? Like, I'm not too sure what that is. Is that like businesses? Like, if you've got a corporation over there, that the corporation can't set up a cannabis association? I'm not too sure of that one there. But yeah, big problems there with some of it. But look, it's definitely a step in the right direction. But still, you don't want to get stuck there. You don't want to be stuck with having only 7 grams of cannabis when you call around to your buddies. What if you want to call by and bake a cake? It's like, oh yeah, call over there, Martin, and yeah, we're going to bake a cake. And I'd be like, listen, I've an ounce there, I'm going to bring it, but I have to make 4 trips. I have to go over with 7 grams, come back, get another 7, go over, come back, get another 7, go over, come back, get another 7. What if we were baking 2 cakes and he had an ounce and I had an ounce? We know of more than 50 grams of dried cannabis in his house while we're baking the cake. You know, you see the problems that come up here with this stupid fucking numbers game that they have? Regulated like grapes. The government should have no right to tell you how many grapes you can have in your house, how many grapevines you could grow out your back garden, or how much bloody, how much grapes you can keep and store in your house either. So that you shouldn't have the right to do it with cannabis either. That's my opinion. I'm sticking with it. And that's the Australians as well, so kind of stealing it from the Australians. Right, let's get into the next one, guys, because we go from one positive headline to a negative one. And it's a big twist there. Like, you've one country here in Malta, in Europe, and that's the headline here. They're considering legalizing cannabis and allowing their citizens access it. We'll go over to Singapore in the next one, and apologies there, that text shouldn't be up there. We're in Singapore. The government the courts have dismissed a man's appeal. This is a case of a 41-year-old man who was caught bringing a kilo of cannabis from, I believe it was from Vietnam, into Singapore. And when he was making the transition across the border, he got caught by the authorities over there. And when he was brought into the station, then they put serious pressure on the guy, and they made him sign a confession, basically by threatening to hang him and his elderly father if he did not sign it. Now the man says that he didn't know that the cannabis was in it, but he then later admitted again under duress that he did it because they were stuck for money. Well, whichever was true, it's shameful. This man has been sentenced to death by hanging for cannabis. For cannabis, think about it. Like cannabis. It's a fucking plant. It's a plant. It's a medicinal herb that brings so much happiness to people, and they're gonna put a noose around the guy's neck, and they're gonna strangle him until the life leaves his body, just because he likes the herb. How messed up is that? How messed up? Seriously, guys. This really needs to be highlighted. I know, like, people like to try to ignore these things and act like it doesn't happen. But when this is happening, we need to be shouting about this, like that a man is losing his life in another country over there. Like that, this is an incredible violation of a man's human rights. Do they have human rights in Singapore? Like, come on, the UN, I don't know, has Singapore signed up to the UN? I'm not too sure. I should have probably checked that one out. But yeah, the human rights associations have for a long time been critical of the policies there in Singapore. But a shameful case. Omar Yaqub Bamadhaj, that's the name of the man here, 41 years of age, and he was sentenced to death in February. And on Tuesday last week, his court case, his appeal was dismissed. It doesn't stay here when he's going to be sentenced to be hanged. But this is shameful, guys. Really, it is. Like, I would love to organise something here. If there's people out there who are willing, above there in Dublin, I'm sure they've probably got some form of embassy. Like, guys, you need to hold, I don't know, a vigil or some sort. Like, let's meet up there. I'm down here in Cork, so I'm going to put it out there, and hopefully somebody out there could do something, because we can't leave these things go unanswered. Cannabis community, not just here in Ireland, around the world, and we have to support one another. Because look, as backwards as our laws are here, that's way out of whack. Right, so let's drive on, because that's incredibly depressing. So we go from Singapore, where people are getting killed, we go to Oregon. We're over in Oregon, in the state of Oregon, a county in Oregon. They've declared a state of emergency because of being overwhelmed by illegal cannabis growers. This is in the state of Oregon, where cannabis growing is legal and regulated, but still, nonetheless, there is gangs coming in there and setting up large grows in wooded areas, especially. I'll get up a map there of Oregon, just so you can kind of see the state there. But some of the states over there, their natural waterways and stuff like that, they're getting diverted. Rivers are running dry, and it's not good because of illegal cannabis grows. So this is in Jackson County. So up around this area here, up around Medford. So you see here, like look at that. That's an incredibly wooded area, and it's expansive as well. Like you just take a little spot, you grow a couple of thousand cannabis plants, but in the process they're diverting little waterways, which are drying up rivers, and jeopardizing local wildlife too in the process. And this isn't because of legal cannabis. No, this is being done by gangs in the area who are then exporting the cannabis to dry states. So these are gangs that are operating in other states where cannabis is still prohibited, because there's still a market there for these guys. They're getting run out of their own states because they can't even compete with the legal cannabis industry, because even the legal cannabis industry are finding it hard to keep up with the competitive prices. Whereas these guys, they can illegally grow cannabis, they can rob water from the local creek, jeopardizing, the local wildlife, and make a killer of money. So again, another example is the how cannabis prohibition, it affects places outside of the state, because states where cannabis prohibition no longer exists, they're still dealing with the effects of cannabis prohibition from other states. It's kind of like how Mexico for a long time was dealing with the prohibition of drugs of America. That for a long time, a lot of drugs came through Mexico into America, and now, because of the lifting of prohibition, that's no longer such of a problem there. But now, because of prohibition in other states, well, these gangs are just moving into the legal states. And again, this can only be sorted out once we just end this war on drugs once and for all globally. It's a mess. It's failed since its inception, and it's caused us to lose a lot of lives. Jesus, just sticking with Mexico for an example, like hundreds of thousands of innocent individuals, like brutally murdered in the war on drugs down there. I'm not even going to get into some of the details, but I'll bring up one case of the 42 students who had their bus. They were on the way from one of the cities in Mexico. I can't think of the name of it now off the top of my head, but their bus was intercepted apparently by some corrupt police individuals, and all of the 42 students who were on the way to protest against the war on drugs, against the prohibition of drugs, they were all killed. They were disappeared. I believe their bodies were later found in a mass grave. Horrible. And other news, guys. Nevada and there. Hopefully this is it. Nope. 1 second, I'll get this up now. Nevada, yes, there we go. Coming out of Nevada, news in Nevada. Over in Nevada, they've raised over $159 million for schools through the sales of cannabis. And that's in just September alone, in 1 month. So in 1 month, they've raised over $159 million for schools. Absolutely crazy. And they say there, I believe that was 1 month. No, I could be wrong actually. I think I'm crossing up stories there. But still, nonetheless, quite a bit of money there to be made for schools. And they actually state that in the state that last year, in 2019, the state actually made more money from the taxes coming in from cannabis than they did from alcohol. So well done, Nevada. Excellent stuff over there, guys. Legendary stuff. Great to see cannabis, showing up what great potential it has in benefiting our society, because if you were to only go back 10 years ago, let's go back 10 years ago when cannabis was illegal in Nevada, all of that money, that was going to criminals. Criminals were making all of that money. The schools weren't getting a cent. The hospitals weren't getting a penny. There was nothing going into the roads. All the criminals, no taxes. Yeah. No, because of regulation, legalization, and not only are kids more protected because there's age limits, but consumers are more protected because there's quality controls and standards in place. Do you know, Frank Vian, Stephen Lonley, that's a head-led approach. Invest some money into education programs and maybe educate yourselves too while you're at it. And then the final headline I have for you today, guys, and we got through them today in less than an hour. Happy days. Let's do this. A study, Cannabis Science. Cannabis Science headline. Today's headline for the Cannabis Science News is a new study in the Journal of Cancer. This found that 42% of the 612 breast cancer patients that took part in the study said that they used cannabis to relieve the symptoms of their condition, but also the treatment of their condition too, i.e. chemotherapy. So a very interesting outcome there in that study. But it also goes to show, the real need that there is there to undo the prohibition of cannabis, so that not only people can get access to it, so researchers can better study it. The alarming thing that was found out as part of this study, for me anyway, is that two-thirds of the patients, almost two-thirds of the patients, did not discuss their use of cannabis with their doctors, meaning that basically two-thirds of the patients were at risk of adverse effects there. Because, as a cancer patient, you would be taking other medications, you would be taking things that, like, you could have immune suppressants or something like that, and if you're getting cannabis, let's say, on the black market, or if you're getting cannabis from an unregulated source, then that could be posing a danger to you. There could be interactions there with the drugs that you're taking that you wouldn't be aware of. So again, that's a worrying trend there. And again, it's just it highlights the residual effects of the stigma of cannabis still lingering, because in states, even where cannabis is legal, still people do have a hesitance to talk to their doctors about their medical or their medicinal use of cannabis. Yeah. So again, over in America, still, I believe they're not able to administer cannabis in hospitals. So if you go to the hospital for whatever condition you might be suffering with, and you're a cannabis patient, well, a lot of the times you actually have to sneak your cannabis into the hospital. It's kind of messed up, really, isn't it? All things considered, like. Other findings in that study, guys, and I'll pop this study up on the screen there just so you can see it if anybody's interested in going and having a read off it in its entirety. The title of the study, it's A Cola Tea Cannabis Survey, Study of Breast Cancer Patients, Use of Cannabis Before, During and After Treatment. So that's the full title there if anybody's looking for it. It was published on the 12th of October 2021. And it was published in the Cancer Journal. The background of the study says the goal of the study was to characterize cannabis use among patients with breast cancer, including their reasons for and timing of use, their sources of cannabis information and products, their satisfaction with the information found, and their perceptions of its safety, and their dialogue about cannabis with their physicians. The methods used, it says, United States-based members of breastcancer.org and healthline.com communities with self-reported diagnosis of breast cancer within 5 years were invited to participate in an anonymous survey online. After informed consent was obtained, non-identifiable data was collected and analysed. So again here, this isn't just focused on states where cannabis is legal. So again, you do have the effects of prohibition being taken into consideration in the numbers here in this. But just to go down to the conclusions, it said a significant percentage of survey participants, 42%, used cannabis to address symptoms. Approximately half of these participants believed that cannabis could treat cancer itself too. Most participants used cannabis during active cancer treatment despite the potential for an adverse event during this vulnerable time. So again, drug-to-drug interactions there is kind of what they're talking about. Also, furthermore, most participants believed that cannabis was safe and were unaware that the product quality varied widely and depended on the source. This study reviewed the research on medicinal cannabis in the setting of these findings to help physicians to recognize its risks and benefits for patients with cancer. And then some of the findings here just highlighted in bullet points. Almost half of the patients with breast cancer use cannabis, most commonly during active treatment to manage common symptoms and side effects, including pain, anxiety, insomnia, and nausea. It says, however, most patients do not discuss their cannabis use with their physicians. Instead, the internet and family and friends are the most common sources of cannabis information. Furthermore, the participants believe that cannabis products are safe and are unaware that the safety of many products is untested. So it's a good finding, but also just highlights the need for more research. And the best way we're going to get more research done is by lifting the prohibition of cannabis and freeing the plant, allowing society freedom to not only access it but research it so we can understand it and better benefit from the use of it. So there we go, guys. Much appreciated to each and every one of you for tuning in today. I hope you all enjoyed the 420 news. Apologies about the earlier pieces. I hate the depressing ones there, especially the patients getting picked on again in Irish courts. Like, shame on the government. I actually made this little image with that one. You probably have seen it already. I'll pop it up on screen there now just so you can see it again with the elderly lady. It's Asha here's local cops better hide me cush before they find it and my arthritis flares up again without it. But that is the reality today in Ireland for some cannabis patients. They live in fear of the authorities. Not all of them are elderly ladies. They come in all different shapes, sizes, ages and walks of life. But I asked the question on this, does this look like somebody our Gardaí should be targeting? And it's not, but it is, unfortunately, because of cannabis prohibition. So yeah. There we go, guys. Much appreciated, everybody, for joining me. Let's blaze up a bowl or two and have another bit of a chat there before we sign off. I have to go down there this evening to pick up a new motor. I have to get a bigger car. The Yaris is not going to be big enough there now for when the new baby comes. So I'm going to get something bigger. Get a new saloon. So that's my plan for the rest of the evening there now shortly. Road trip. Bob Marley, what's happening? Bob Marley says, well, man, that's the worst. That's worse than Midnight Express. Don't mess with the Far Eastern countries. Yep, that's for sure. I won't be visiting fucking Dubai or Singapore anytime soon. No, Jose. No way, Jose. South African cannabis extraction says, some African news. The recent PBS Nova documentary, The Cannabis Question, has been censored and removed for viewing by African YouTube viewers. Oh, no way, man. That's unfortunate. I seen that happen here as well recently for myself. Oh, excuse me. It was available for viewing here in Ireland, and recently I seen the link where that was available is it's no longer available in your country. I didn't go looking for it anywhere else because I did get to watch it the first time around when it was available. But yeah, that is rather, but maybe it's something to do with PBS. Maybe they put it out by mistake to all regions, and they should have limited it to maybe America or something. I'm not too sure. But nice one for that there, South African cannabis extraction. Appreciate the comment. And appreciate the sharing the news there as well from South Africa. If you ever have any more, definitely drop me some emails there by Martin's World podcast at gmail.com. Maybe even you might want to feature in a video and relay some of that news for us. I'd love to have a South African correspondent. So the invitation is open there, South African cannabis extraction. Get the email over if you want to get involved. Bob Marley, what's happening? Bob Marley says, when you ask consultants or beg them to please, I try anything to save your loved ones from cancer. They say no, it's not proven. Yeah, that's what they say. It's not proven. But like, come here. In fairness, there's actually a law against saying that anything can cure cancer. Like it's kind of illegal to actually find a cure for cancer. Not really, like obviously, but it's pretty impossible to find a cure for anything really, like. Serenable, Martin, are you still trying to set up the shop in the city? I am indeed, Serenable. I've been looking on Daft all the time, and there's the prices are either really high for good locations, or for the locations that were in budget, they're really small and not accommodating for, like, say, even 10 people, which is a problem. Miss Dawes says, new whip alert, well earned, Martin. Good luck with the new motor. Nice one, Miss Dawes. Appreciate that. Skatana says, I need to use a US VPN to watch it about a week after release, I think. Nice one for that, South African. I'll keep I'll keep an eye out in my emails anyway for any contact there from yourself. Appreciate it. Cassidus Drogas then saying there earlier, the Donnelly will be planning a research trip to the Strip in Vegas. I think Donnelly will be staying clear of anywhere with the word strip in it. Apparently, strippers and strip clubs make the guy very uncomfortable. So I'd imagine the Vegas Strip would make him deeply, deeply uncomfortable. It'd be interesting. I'd love to blaze one up with him, like, over to Amsterdam there with Donnelly and Frank. What would that be like? Imagine Frank getting Frank blazed up, like. That'd be so funny. I'd say he would just paranoid. He'd be paranoid. Or maybe he might just get the giddy bangs as well. I don't know. Paddy J, what can be made from cannabis leaves? Tea. What can be made from cannabis leaves? If they've got yeah, tea. You can eat them like you like spinach. Yeah, you can have them like a salad. Things like that. You can juice them. If they've got like sugar on them, if they got resin on them, you can make hash from them. You can dry them out and you can use them to make like canagars. Yeah, there's a couple of uses there for cannabis leaves. All right. Bomber, yeah, I read that one actually. Nice, shite in the bucket says, for renting somewhere, we need a 420 boat. Yes, that's a good idea actually. Just a 420 boat. We leave Cork City every day at 420. Sail out into the harbour for a 420 party. That'd be a good crack actually. Pods for 420. I'd love to force him into doing a blowbacks upside down. Upside down blowbacks for Frank. Love it. Let's blaze on up. Let's send clouds there for Frankie boy. Schleint everyone. Just looking at some of the comments there. Hype blowing the budget on blackjack and Baccarat. Yeah, somehow Donnelly just yeah, he wouldn't let us start from Vegas anyway. CG, what's going on? CG says hemp should be like any other legal crop. What the F do governments that still follow the old Anslinger, Nixon, Reagan regimes, etc., think they're doing? They're robbing the world of its health. Yep, I 100% agree with you there, CG. They literally are robbing people of their health. I believe that once the prohibition of cannabis is lifted and farmers are back utilising this plant to the fullest of its abilities, and animals are being fed the byproducts of that industry, which are loaded then with the cannabinoids, we then benefit in turn because we would be consuming those animals and products from those animals, such as milk, cheese, eggs, and so on. Um, these products contain fat, and those will carry the cannabinoids if the animals are fed a diet rich in cannabinoids. So yeah, I definitely think that the current prohibition of cannabis is certainly robbing the world of its health, considering the benefits being brought to many people out there by the use of cannabinoids and cannabis. Um, I definitely think it can only be a good thing to return to the way in which it was before prohibition, when animals were fed lots and lots of hemp byproducts or cannabis byproducts even. The Emperor Wears No Clothes is a good book, and CG is recommending it there as well. Yeah, written by the famous Jack Herrera. Other comments out there? Mm-hmm. Night Stalker. Just tune in. I heard a bill is going to be discussed soon in Ireland. Is there any chance anything actually happens, or are they just trying to lay the foundation for the future? Um, there is a very minuscule chance that something could happen if we, the people, unite and rise up and force the hand of the government. But it is looking, sadly, unfortunately, because of a lack of optimism there, I would imagine, by the parties involved in submitting the bill, that it's going to fall flat in its face. But there is a slight small possibility. Sorry, guys, I got a heads up there that my lift is outside, so I'm gonna quickly pack up one more bowl, and I'll start saying my goodbyes. If any of you got any more comments in there, get them in. I'll read them on out before we say goodbye. But the bowl is packed now, so you only got a matter of seconds. Captain Condon, nice on hype. All aboard. Man, I don't know what it is about her. I know it's the light, like fucking giving me a dry nose or something. Like my nose gets very itchy. Or else you're all talking about me out there. Are you talking about me? It's like the tip of my nose gets very dry when I'm on here with you. And itchy. Shouting in the bucket. I mean, instead of renting in Cork, could you be better off with a boat down at the docks? It is. It's a great suggestion anyway. It'd be probably a lot cheaper than renting a place too. And you can call it your own too. Yes. What would you call the boat then? Like the high seas, the rising tide. Great news as always, Martin. Keep her lip, bro. Nice one, Keep. Appreciate that. Teresa says that sounds like a business idea. 420 boat trips, if only. Who knows, Teresa? Stranger things have happened. Um, Paddy J, good luck with the new car. Nice one, Paddy J. Appreciate that. And Mark also saying good luck with a great informative show. And thanks as well coming in from Mark. Appreciate that, Mark. Mistawa says we could try start a new Sealand off Cork. And Teresa O'Connell, the opposition are bringing the bill, so not likely might get kicked down the road. We do have a citizens' assembly to decriminalise the drug user. Yeah, the citizens' assembly is certainly more promising, all right, than Gino's bill. But look, it's all up in the air. Let's see what happens there. I'm still going to remain optimistic for Gino's bill anyway. I'm gonna have to. I have to. Smoky McSmokeface. No, Smoky McBoatface. That's the name of the boat. Right. Right, so guys, I'm gonna say goodbye. Much love to everybody out there. Nice one, everybody, for tuning in. We'll be back more 420 news on Wednesday. Until then, guys, be safe out there, stay blazed, and keep her lit. Peace.